This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded November 19th, 2013, episode 172, Printing Propaedeutic Patterns.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Dave.
How's Contextual Electronics going? Have you launched that sucker yet?
Not yet. It's getting there. It's probably another month or two. I'm thinking like early January.
He's been saying this for 6 months, folks.
Of course, yes. Well,
Yeah.
you know.
But it's
how
a
launch
shitload of
dates
work,
go.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I posted a picture the other day, actually. I should send you. I didn't post it on the Reddit links, but I posted a picture of the latest layout.
Right.
And it's been getting kind of crazy, actually. I like the layout and everything like that. And it's mostly, if this was just me, it wouldn't be a big deal. But
Right.
it's because
Of course.
it's, doing it in public eye and recording
Yep, that's
everything. And yeah. So that's the real thing.
Makes it difficult. I haven't seen it. What is the final project? It was like a data acquisition thing, right?
Yeah, sort of.
But has it expanded? Has it blown out from that?
Yeah, well, a little bit from that. It's it's called Bench Buddy with the
Bench Buddy. It reminds me of the bathroom buddy from Gremlins.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Except I had to change the spelling on it because a while back when someone was interviewing me about it, I looked it up finally and I'm like, oh crap, that's trademarked.
Oh, really?
So now it's spelled with it's Buddee. Because it's lame. I know.
Oh, yeah.
But so I sent you the link there. It's basically ATX power supply that then goes to
Right.
watch out, we got lots of wank input here. So it's an Arduino controlled output, right? So you can have like a display and everything like that. And then basically there's a DAC that also drives a current source. There's an ADC that can measure high level or thermocouple inputs. There's a positive negative rail that's adjustable. There's there's a relay circuit for like high voltage switching type stuff. And then there's an LED
I see it.
LED driver, basically. The idea being that like kind of like everything you need to do, not everything, but just kind of like a multi-tool for your bench. So measuring signals, outputting power, and doing it kind of cheap. I don't know.
The ATX power supply is a bit overkill, although I can see why you did it. I mean, it's not like you.
Oh yeah.
Those little pissant traces you got on there, they're not going to carry 20 amps.
Neither is but the output, they're just LM317s and 337s. It's nothing fancy.
Right, yeah.
Because cost is an issue too. So it's like, it's all current limited. I got PTC thermistors in there and stuff too.
And they're tiny little PCB heatsinks on there too.
Yeah, exactly. It can't do any significant power, but I don't want it to. It's just that ATX is super cheap and actually really quiet. I was really surprised. Both actual like auditory noise, the fans on those things, and then the actual supply output as well. I expected it to be like super janky, like tons of noise on it, but it.
Yeah, no, they're quite reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised, and then I put some extra filtering on it too. So, it's
Sweet.
kind of it's gonna be open source too, so that's fun.
Of course.
Multi-tool, and made with KiCad, of course.
Yep.
This sales announcement brought to you by
Contextual Electronics.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been going good. It's just take it forever.
Well, see, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, this is why, there's a lot of people who don't realise how long it takes to get shit done. It's especially when you, as you said, doing it in the public eye and shooting video while you're doing it, and
Right. Well, I remember your power supply video.
Power supply thing, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's gotten to the point where I refuse to do that anymore,
See,
in the public eye.
Of course.
Right?
And I think the key there though is that I'm doing all this stuff, this the actual design inputs
before it's launched.
Yeah, exactly. No one.
That's it.
We'll be going over
No
all the
one can say,
concepts.
"You're doing it wrong."
Yeah, that's and I learned that
That's
from
right.
you. Honestly, it's that's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like the what's it bike shedding where. And we've talked about that once on the show before, where if it's a committee talking about a nuclear reactor, they quickly pass through the $10 million reactor plans, but everybody has an input on the color of the bike shed out back.
Oh, got it. Oh, boy.
That happens all the time, though,
Yep.
So, yeah, it's going good, though. Yeah, it's getting there. If people are interested, that's actually the other thing, though. I meant to mention this a couple weeks back. I did a 7-week video course on building a little Blinky board.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, that was it was a little long, to be honest, and people called it out on. It was on Hackaday, rightfully so. It was a little long, but it's basically getting through KiCad. Maybe you could even get through KiCad. I know you evaluated KiCad. But...
but no, I did a first impressions video.
Right, of course.
I used it for the first hour, and that was my video, and that's it. I haven't touched it since.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
But once again, people think that they can do this thing much quicker. Well, you can't, because you were doing it effectively real time there, and you're trying to explain things and waffle.
Right.
And
there was a lot of waffle. Yes,
there was a bit of waffle, but that's it's not going to suddenly take 1/10 that time if you aren't doing that.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
It might halve the time or something, but how many hours total did you have on those videos?
It was 1 3/4 hours. It was a little bit more than 1.5.
See, 1 3/4 hours getting to Blinky. No, I'm sorry. If you laid out that board yourself,
that's 10 minutes.
It's not going to. It's not going to be 10 minutes, right?
Well, depends though. I mean, I was thinking about comparing it.
Yeah.
A good example is Upverter, right? Upverter, you can do it really.
Right.
You can do it quickly, but. That's grabbing components. That's under the assumption that you have all your components. But as you and I and many of our listeners know, that when you're using a CAD program, such a significant portion of your time is putting parts in for schematic, for footprint, verifying if they're already in there, which is a big step that everybody skips, including myself. And then you curse, and you curse, and you curse.
And then there's looking up parts on DigiKey. Sure, if it's just a 555, right?
Yeah.
With through-hole resistors, right, you're going to have these parts in your libraries already. So it's not an accurate example of how long a simple board with a couple of chips would take.
Yeah.
Because it really is the bottom of the rung.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, and it's tough,
board.
When you're trying to compare it. So, the whole idea behind getting to Blinky was comparing it to getting an Arduino or a BeagleBone or something like that, and blinking that first LED. That's a really important first step to make sure you understand the compiler and everything like that. But if you had to go in and verify all your libraries, all your dependencies, that could really be a pretty deep dive. They're always just set up for that kind of thing.
That could take a day or two.
Yeah,
that's right.
I hate that part of projects when you're just trying to get to that point. But
I've had that with the Arduino in the past. It's had issues that just didn't work for me first go, and I had to spend half a day, reading the forums to find out what idiot thing I've done, and then I find out, oh no, this version is not compatible with that board and this driver, and all these drivers they weren't compatible, and if it doesn't work first go, you're screwed.
Yeah, no, and then it's super frustrating too, because you're like, everybody else got it, and you're on the forums, and you're like,
exactly.
I can't describe my issue, because if I try and explain it, it sounds like I'm just crazy. I'm doing everything right here.
I know. And everyone goes, oh, you just plug it in and it works. And it's like, no, it doesn't, I swear.
Right.
And then once you get to the end of it, you find out that, Murphy got you because you had some board and you were running some old version of this or that, and, you were trying to do one thing which didn't have the compatible library, and, I've gone through this before, and it's just...
Yeah.
Even the simple things can screw up completely.
Right. And the key, I think, for that is if you're, it's like if you have someone who is coming into it, right? Arduino is a great example of something where it's very welcoming because it is, it's a simpler interface, it's friendly code, that kind of thing. And as long as you're following along, there is a higher likelihood of you, finally making that blink and then get started. And that really, it's all about momentum in that case, right? So having someone getting started and okay, I'm doing this, I can do this, and then you get the blink, and you get those rush of endorphins or whatever the hell is in your brain, and it's just exciting, and you want to keep going with technology. If you stumble in that path, though, that could just be the end. That could just be like, well, I guess programming or electronics or tennis or, water polo isn't for me,
That's it.
So, yeah, it's important.
Boy.
It's important to try and, I don't know.
Yep.
It's tough.
How many things can go wrong with a simple blinky circuit like that? I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of one, easy one that Murphy always seems to get you. You do your circuit, you lay out your board, everything's hunky dory, and you order your parts from DigiKey, and your parts turn up, and you go, oh, it's the wide package chip instead of the narrow package chip, and
Yeah, actually, I ended up. So the first go round, I actually put the wrong. I measured. Oh, how about this one? I did inner diameter instead of outer diameter for the for the through hole component that I used. So it was that battery holder, and it was like, I think it was like 85 mils. It was just showed 85 mils, and I think that was the drill size, and I used that as the outside diameter. So that when I interpolated that for the drill size, it was like, oh. So, I filed it down and I squeezed it in there, and then I remade the video. But yeah, it's tough. That's the hard part of hardware. But it's I don't know.
Anyway,
go ahead.
I think that hour and something for your total for your videos was bang on.
Yeah, actually, a good comparison. Jeremy Blum just finished he did a third video about Eagle as well.
Yep.
And and after the fact, someone pointed out, "Hey, Chris, you made the exact same circuit as Jeremy." And I'm like, "Oh, well, 555, okay."
Yeah, right.
And then I wrote to Jeremy all sheepishly. I'm like, "Hey, I made the same video as you by accident." But actually, his was 3 half-hour videos as well. So Eagle, KiCad, the same kind of thing. So that was kind of vindication. And
for sure.
Yeah, that's his has crazy views on YouTube too. Something like
I know.
Couple 100,000, I think. Man, that's
awesome. I know, it's insane.
Awesome. And that's why he works at Google now.
Right.
Yeah. So KiCad has some interesting news. I don't know if you saw this a couple weeks ago.
Tell me.
So CERN, the particle accelerator out of Switzerland, they are officially putting people onto the KiCad project. So KiCad is an open source software project.
Right.
Anyone can contribute. However, this CERN, this large lab is basically dedicating people to improving the software even faster. That's effectively what it's going to be. So they're putting money in to have people work on stuff, and it's going to increase feature sets and stuff like that. And
now, how are they doing this? Are they sort of just taking the existing developers and now paying them to work on it full time, or are they bringing in their own talent?
No. I think they're bringing in. They already had people that were contributing on the side.
Oh, right.
And then basically, they're kind of rolling it into duties, and then I think they're asking for donations as well from the community if people are interested. Basically, there's no way to do that right now either, right? You think about an open source project. It's like you could go and try and pay one of the developers who's doing it in their part time, but you can't just like donate money to something, and say, all right, now do it more. So basically, this is another pathway for that as well. So say there's another company that started using KiCad or any other type of program like this, they could go to this entity, CERN in this case, and say, here's $100,000. Let's pick up the pace, boys. Or they,
right.
Like that's kind of the idea, and that's
awesome.
That's really exciting. And looking at some of the stuff that's coming out, I mean, you weren't on when Adam was on. But he was talking about this a little bit, but just some of the features that have come out recently with the Python scripting. There's a new 3D engine for KiCad.
There's push and shove routing, I think.
Oh yeah. That's another one.
Right.
So a lot of exciting stuff coming out.
I'm definitely going to have to get back on this now.
Yeah. It's
screw Altium.
Well, and Altium just released, I think, 17. Is that right? Did you see that press release?
Oh, I saw something about it. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
They got some videos or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just an exciting time. I think it's just it's going to be good times for all. Now the big caveat here is that Mac users are still kind of in the cold for KiCad, which is kind of unfortunate.
Well, Kind of, but like tough tits, I mean...
Yeah.
No, seriously, tough tits.
I guess.
Right?
But it's...
these are... I'd rather have a tool that works properly on one platform than some half-assed tool that works across all platforms.
Yeah, I'd say that's true unless you're a Mac user, and then you're like, God damn it. I mean, yeah, you could do virtual machines and stuff like that, and it's not too bad. That's personally, if I was a Mac user, I'd probably do a virtual machine and run on Ubuntu or something like that. But
the fact is, the brutal fact is, the Macintosh has always been a nothing platform as far as engineering tools go.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, much like how Windows is a nothing platform for graphic and video editing tools. We always get left in the cold for that kind of stuff.
No, I don't think that.
I think
I do all my video editing in Windows, thank you very much.
Yeah, we've all seen that caliber.
But, no, it's just... I'm sorry, that's just the way the Mac's always been. It has not been a viable platform for most engineering tools. So, why should it suddenly be any different?
I don't know. That is a good question, I guess. I mean, I think in general, I think Mac is kind of it's been increasingly legitimized as like you have to develop for it kind of platform. You don't see that?
No.
No? Okay. Well,
no.
That's been my experience. I mean, just because the huge increase in Mac users in the past 10 years. Now, maybe 20 years ago, I'd agree. But
no.
I do think it's...
Well, isn't Mac going downhill a bit at the moment? Because Apple's not really pushing their... they're so behind the curve in terms of Mac hardware and stuff like that, aren't they? That was my belief, especially in the Pro range, like in the Mac Pro desktops and stuff like that.
We are just opening a doorway to hell right here, Dave.
Of course we are. Why not?
I will just say this. I stopped paying attention. When I sold all my Apple stock, I just stopped paying attention, so I have no idea. I literally have no idea.
Well, see, this is what happened to me, right? I had so many people bitch at me, why aren't you doing your video editing on a Mac? It'll change your life,
right.
Swear to God, it's the right tool. So I went, fine, I'll go check it out, right? So I walked into a freaking Mac store against my own better judgment, and I said, show me your hardware, show me your Mac Pro. I want your high-end freaking hardware. Even the people in the store laughed at me, right? You really want to buy a Mac Pro desktop? And I go, yeah, why don't you want a notebook? Oh, because I can't put the freaking accelerator card in it.
Yeah.
You dickheads. And then I was practically laughed out of the store, right? And then I came back and I posted on the blog, of my experience with it. And then everyone said, oh, yeah, Mac haven't been upgrading their Pro line for like 3 years now. And I go, well, why didn't you freaking tell me that?
I see. You're saying because it was desktop. Okay. Right.
It was desktop.
And I think that's realistic. I mean, maybe people that are... I use laptops, but it's not for high processing.
So do I.
High level processing stuff, right? I mean,
I do here. No, I've gone back to desktop at home now, but anyway.
Right. Yeah, no, it's just interesting. Interesting. Video aside, right? I think video is a different thing, but in terms of engineering tools, ugh.
Well, no, not even video, because once again, I used their most powerful Mac at the store, and it was slower than my slower for video rendering than my PC.
Oh, yeah?
Than my out-of-date PC. So, yeah, I'm flipping the bird to the Apple people. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I have no sympathy for anyone who says...
EEV blog.
EEV blog.
Care of... I don't know your P.O. Box number, otherwise I'd tell them to send the bags of dog crap there.
Right. No, I don't care.
Yeah.
If it's not available for Mac, it's not available for Mac. Tough tips.
That's
if you don't like it, you go out and bloody compile it yourself for the Mac.
Well, and I think that's what it comes down to.
Don't sit there and complain.
I think that's going to be a realistic thing for lots of platforms, right? I mean, a lot of engineering tools in general. I think, Windows is going to be around for a while, I'm guessing, but... you think about just the rise of tablets, and as people move towards that kind of stuff, I'm never going to run layout on a tablet, at least as far as I know, right?
That's right.
So what happens then? I mean, does that mean the default tools end up on Linux? Is that the idea? Because that's the only way to really do it anymore? Or you think Windows is
but-
going to stick around, or I don't know.
Of course Windows is going to stick around. All these tools, including the high-end Macs and stuff, they must stick around because people need to do professional-level stuff. There's professional-level stuff and there's your consumer shit, and don't confuse the two.
That is true.
Fine, you can run all your whole life, edit all your photos and do your wank Facebook shit on your bloody stupid, iPad.
Yeah.
Right? But don't think you're ever going to be able to do freaking layout on it. You're just not, right?
Yeah.
You need those dual or triple, 27-inch monitors, right? That's, it's just...
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Maybe not 27-inch. That might be a little out there.
At Altium, we had 30-inch monitors
I
and
know,
it wasn't enough,
right.
okay?
Now, does Altium, does that compile for Mac or no?
No.
No, it's just Windows?
Yep. There are people who use it on Mac, but they run it under the emulator, whatever it is.
Yeah, the virtual machine.
Wine or whatever it's called. Yeah. I don't know. But no, it's not designed for it, and neither are any of your other industry tools. Neither are any of your Cadence or your FPGA stuff. Isn't all of your cadence and all that sort of stuff? Forget it.
Right? I think technically FPGA compilers and everything else like that, I don't think those actually work on any platform. I don't know if you
Ka-ching! Yeah, it's not good. I'll pay that. Yeah.
They work one day, but then the next day they do something completely different. So
Well, no. Here's an interesting thing which I was going to bring up before. That it's a segue, right?
Okay.
This is the thing about I'm scared about KiCad, right? I hate tools that you have to update on a daily basis, or you're sort of, because it's bug fix or whatever, right? I want a stable tool. I want a stable tool like here. I hope KiCad move in this direction because, please correct me if I'm wrong, but at the moment you sort of, you almost have to keep up with the daily or weekly build or something like that.
That is not correct. Right? You do not have to.
Not correct?
You
don't
can.
Have to.
You do not have to.
You can.
I've been on a stable... Right? I've been on
but
stable
there's no,
Windows.
Official release. But there's no, here's the stable release. We recommend everyone use this unless you're a, absolute masochist.
Right.
And you want to update
build your own stuff, right?
Right. So that's what I hope it moves before. Here's version 14 of KiCad, and it's... the one we recommend you use for the next 9 months until we push out the next major version.
Right. If you look at the exe on the KiCad mirror,
right.
which is out of France,
yep,
it's dated July 7th, 2013. So that is the latest stable. And that's BZR 4022, and I think that might be what I'm running. I don't remember. That's how... No, I'm on 4004. So the 4022 I think has the better graphical 3D stuff. But honestly, I'm still locked back in the past, and I'm going to stay that way because I've been making all these videos like this.
Well, that's right. That's what I was getting at. Yeah, you want as a design tool, you want stability. That's more important than anything else.
No, I do. I totally agree with that.
Absolutely.
I think if you can build your own stuff, right? But I think you can, you can lock it down. Then you could just tell it to stop reminding you about updates and stuff like that. Now, if something's broken, then you're screwed no matter what,
of course.
right? I mean,
so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, I hope it gets more
Yeah.
professional in that regard. Where and as far as the downloads too, because if I remember correctly, it was like, oh, you want an actual Windows executable in-store file for KiCad, or you've got to go to some guy's website who does it over here, and that's just not, that just doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me.
I understand what you mean.
I want, KiCad.org, and there's one button on there, here is the latest stable Windows download, and that's,
That exists right now.
I don't give a shit about GitHub and and everything else, and I don't want to have to go to someone's, server he's running out of his garage somewhere to download the latest Windows version.
See, that's how they've done it for years, though. I mean, come on, Dave.
I know, but if you want this to be taken seriously as a professional tool, it needs to look professional, and that starts from not having to go to some hack website somewhere to find the download. It needs to.
Right. Well, if people go to KiCad-PCB.org and then go to the download link, there is a click for Windows at least, because that's what I use, and then there is a stable version there. So that is the way to do it.
I think it was different.
It has changed.
It was different when I did it. Okay,
yeah.
Right. Because I remember it was like, people said just download the window, and I couldn't find it. It was
right.
It just wasn't any good.
You're listed on their website.
Me?
Yeah, you are. It says videos
Where?
from EV blog.
Oh, okay.
There we go. This looks new.
There you
Actually,
go.
I haven't seen this site in a while. So.
Where's that?
Now he's interested. It's a tutorials link, and then
videos
from EV blog.
Oh, videos by EV blog. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. There you go.
Someone might make more of them now. Speaking of videos, there's a course for Altium as well that I just found out about.
I've seen that.
For what's it called? Fedevel. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but the Fedevel Academy.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
But yeah, it's for like high density stuff, actually, like high density digital designs that I've never actually done that high density of a design before. So,
has he got examples of? I guess I'd have to watch the videos, right?
There's an open source project they worked on, I think, with an IMX6 processor from Freescale.
Okay. Yeah.
And they do all the different breakouts and everything like that. So.
Oh yeah, I see it here. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, there's another one out there, and makes me feel good. There's more people doing that kind of thing.
Excellent. And people ask me why I don't do Altium videos. Well, I'm not going to do a free video for a tool that costs $6,000. Piss off.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm going to do any, it'll be for little, something like KiCad or some other at least tool that has a free version.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We're waiting until Altium comes out with theirs, right?
Yeah.
When. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I want to talk about a trend which I'm not sure we've mentioned in the past. It's going to get into something that I'm not very comfortable with, namely code. But I've seen like 3 or 4 Kickstarter, crowdfunded type startups or projects lately, and they're all putting really high-level languages on them. And I don't quite... I mean, I get it, but I don't get it.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. Well, the latest one is Python. It's called MicroPython. It says Python for microcontrollers, and basically they compile a version, and then you can throw these high-level commands at it, and it basically blinks a light. It turns on. It's just you're writing very simplified functions.
Yep.
But I guess, and I should acknowledge that that's similar to any other Arduino clone or anything like that. But I don't understand the push other than maybe to get people interested in it. I mean, like there's people that are really interested in like putting JavaScript on a microcontroller. I don't understand that, and I want to.
Well, because you just said it yourself. It's designed for those people who want to. Who know Python, right? These software people who know Python, but, and then they want to do hardware.
So it's just...
That's their language.
Just know it, right? Because they already know it, they want to just get started quickly. Okay.
That's it. And I don't see anything wrong with that, right? There's a market for that.
So,
Why should you have to force everyone on to using C on your Arduino, or force everyone to using assembler or whatever?
Yeah.
I mean, why shouldn't... people have a platform for the language that they know and like. I don't see an issue. I can understand where you're coming from. Then from from us hardware purist point of view, it's going, oh no, there's another, why don't you just stick to C for everything? But,
well, and I felt that impulse at first, but I think it's more about like, I kind of look at it, I'm like, well, is that? I mean, I guess that's just not. They're not really very... They don't need to run fast. They don't need to run small or anything like that. But I kind of look at it and I think, okay, is this a... what's it called? A gateway drug? Is this a gateway drug into hardware? Or is this something where like people are going to be like, well, I want to run Python on everything now. And like I understand Python's a very friendly scripting yada yada language, but I don't see the end game, and maybe I'm missing the point by thinking there is an end game.
No, but yeah, I don't think there is. It's just, the guy who developed it is probably a Python fan, and he figures there's other people out there who like Python and they'd like a board to run it on. I don't think there's any goal of taking over the world here,
Okay. What about JavaScript? I think Python is makes a little more sense too as well, but JavaScript is...
See, I don't know the difference between the two. I've got no idea. That's just lost on me. Yeah. Sorry, I don't write scripts for anything.
Well, JavaScript's what you use in like browsers and stuff like that, and like that's just...
Yeah, I've done a bit of JavaScript 10 years ago,
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, I think I'm way too far out of my wheelhouse to understand to know. But it just seems really odd to me. I guess I know they're not like trying to like create processors. I remember hearing about like people trying to make like native Java processors in the past.
Right.
And it's not that. Basically these are like mini, small ARM chips, and basically it's the exploding availability of memory space and stuff like that. But yeah, okay, well, I have no opinions then, I guess. I honestly, I'm just confused by it. I guess that's what it really is. I'm confused. Other than, okay, it's simple. That's good. Now what?
Yeah, but how much simpler is it than C? Is it any simpler?
Yeah, right. I guess there's just
with the easy precompiled libraries with the Arduino. Is it that simpler? I don't know enough about Python to know, but presumably they've got to have a library to toggle the I/O lines, just like they do on the Arduino. So you're calling up you've got to call up a library to toggle some I/O or do something.
Yeah.
Do a PWM or... I
guess that's what it ultimately gets to me is like I wonder are people doing this because of the language, which is okay, that's cool that, they want to bring more people in. And if that is the purpose of it, then that's fine. But I guess part of me is kind of like, are they doing this because they just want to sell little widgets of hardware and then, make people dependent on them? And, I'm always kind of just questioning that kind of side of things. And maybe that's...
Oh, I don't... Yeah, no,
that's
I
probably
don't,
way
I don't
too,
think of that.
Yep. I don't even know the word.
Neither do I, but I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they're doing that. I don't think they're doing it for that purpose. They're just a Python fanboy and they want to run Python on their hardware. They think that'd be cool,
Yeah, well, and I guess, things like Kickstarter definitely allow this kind of thing as well, so...
And it has allowed it because it's met its funding goal, so sorry, Chris. It's going to be made.
Yeah, I have no say in that. I have no say in anything, really.
Right.
Now, I think we are expected, and we should say something about a different crowdfunding project that is of particular interest around here, which would be the EX1 rapid 3D printing of circuit boards. I know you saw this, and I know you rolled your eyes at it, but I still feel we should take a quick mention of it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I saw it last in the comments last. Let me call it up again. It's a PCB rapid prototype. It's a milling machine, right?
No, it's a printer.
No? Oh, this is right. Yes, sorry. Yes, this is the silver ink. Is it silver ink?
Yeah, right.
Or something, or it's some sort of conductive ink. They can print on anything.
Yeah, it's a silver ink. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know. I don't.
I know.
Like I originally thought, okay, maybe I'll get one of these, and then I thought about it for a couple of minutes, and I went, no, it's pointless.
It's not
just
pointless.
A toy.
No, it's interesting.
It's a toy.
It's interesting as a stepping stone.
It's interesting if you want to do the more unique things it can do, like print onto some sort of flexible substrate or something like that.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
That's what it's interesting for, right? You can even, I think they did an example where you can print onto paper.
And fabrics as well,
and fabrics and other things, right?
Yeah.
That is where it's going to be useful. As far as making your rigid printed circuit boards, no. You're just wasting your time, forget it.
Right. Well, and honestly, even some of these onto fabrics and other type of materials like that, I mean, these are... People should understand that these are higher impedance traces, right? So these are not going to be 2-ounce copper. This is like, I think it was like, I'm going to talk on my ass here. I think it was a couple ohms per inch or something like that. I mean, it was pretty significant.
Fairly substantial.
Yeah. I mean, like, you're not going to be running any currents through here. But again, you wouldn't want to be doing that in a flexible circuit anyways or anything like that. So,
exactly.
Yeah, this will be battery, sensor type stuff.
how do you
blinkies.
solder onto some of these things, like paper, right? You print your traces down onto paper. How do you solder paper?
Yeah. Did you
How?
watch that video from Ben Krasnow a while back?
I haven't seen that yet. He's vacuum deposited some conductive layer onto something, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He did the same kind of. I think that was the conductive. Well, it was definitely like a similar type of thing. It was like a printed type of. He did a transfer with an SVG outline, and then I forget how he actually did. If it was like a CVD type process or what it was, but yeah, that's what he talked about. Is once you have to actually solder, I think he had to do like a weld instead of an actual solder because the amount of heat, or maybe he had to use low temp solder or something like that. That becomes a really big issue because doing I use Fahrenheit, but like 650, 700 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a significant temperature, and it's like if you have any kind of significant like pad size, you're going to need to add a significant amount of heat, and your material, your substrate has to take it, your actual traces have to take it, and
for a few seconds, Did
you do a thermal camera teardown or something like that? I saw Mike did a thermal camera.
Mike did thermal camera teardown.
Yeah. Do you do thermal cameras at all? Do you have thermal cameras?
I've got a thermal camera which is currently sitting in the FedEx depot here in Sydney.
Oh yeah,
and it's been sitting there for the last week.
Oh no. So it is. It's on the way though. It's
no, it's not because it's going back.
Oh, no.
It's going back to the manufacturer because they wanted me to pay $1,000 import duty on it.
Oh my god, that's insane.
Yep.
Yeah, I always forget about that stuff.
So yeah, that was a big screw up.
It's just interesting when you see like the thermal profile of when like when you're actually heating up a trace, especially if it's a copper pour or something like that. Like it's a significant amount of heat. You will like I think about like doing big thermal or big copper pours for like around inductors on like switching circuits and stuff like that. I'm heating up that big pad to try and get the inductor off, but at the same time that heat is conducting all the way up everywhere the trace is connected to, and it's like that could be a significant it's a large amount of copper outside of where I definitely want the heat to go. So it's just
everything's a heatsink.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and for those you need a large thermal capacity ion. Right,
yeah, or a heat gun.
And or a preheater and a heat gun or a thermal oven and stuff like that. Yeah. Exactly. And they retain heat.
Yeah,
as well. When boards with a lot of copper come out of those reflow machines, right? They're smoking hot for 10 minutes. These things are they retain a lot of heat.
Yeah.
And which is what causes tombstoning and stuff like that. If you've got a massive internal copper layers in your board that retain a lot of heat, and then if you don't design your thermal relieves enough to your components, then when you all of your bypass capacitors, for example, might tombstone on your board because one end is joined to ground, which has the large thermal mass, right, usually to a ground plane, and the other end is connected to a thinner trace which goes off to your power, localized power for your chip. So it's not unusual to have, on very thick boards especially, that actually retain the heat. All your bypass caps will tombstone because one end cooled down quicker than the other end, and whoop.
There it goes.
There it goes, folks.
Yeah, the people don't know what tombstoning is when it's like a 0805 comes up on one end.
A component flips up.
Yeah, it's on one.
It flips up on one end because it's
pretty
surface tension is
pretty descriptive there, right, with tombstoning, but
yep, tombstone. But that is a legitimate issue.
Yeah.
In the industry, and if you don't know what you're doing, it can really ruin your day.
Definitely.
Yeah, thermal's a bitch.
So what about this? So these guys how far is Brisbane from you guys? Is it pretty far?
Brisbane's an hour north of here. By plane.
Should give them a call. They're out of Brisbane.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I think I noticed that. That's right. It's an Australian thing.
I figured you were going to jump on that immediately. I thought you were going to be like,
oh, right.
Singing the national anthem.
I had forgotten that. That's another reason why I thought, I'll back this at first. And then after I thought about it for a couple of minutes, no.
Yeah.
No, it's a... Yeah.
Well, I think first off, it already did fun, so it doesn't matter what we think. It never matters what we think. But
in fact, it's already tripled its funding with 22 days left.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I think it'll make some cool products, especially wearables. I mean, wearables are really, exploding
Yeah, wearables
these days.
are big these days,
Yeah. Especially for like sensors and stuff like that. People love sensors. They love their blinkies, which is good. Both pretty decently low power. So that
and they're calling it a printer buddy. If it reaches the 700,000 goal, you get a printer buddy.
I think that is that what it is?
That could be trademarked too.
I don't know.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Yeah. Well, and so cool looking project. People should check that out.
No, it's good. Yeah, but please, people, don't think it's some magic solution to printing your own rigid circuit boards at home. It's not. Okay, so that's what I wanted to get across.
Right. Yeah.
People.
Right.
It's not even close. But for those niche applications, yes, those flexible prototypey things, it'd be no good for a production type thing, But for prototypes, one-offs, great.
Yeah. Well, and any kind of production type thing, I think about my general rule when I think about if it's good for production, you have to think about like the batch processing type of thing. So I think I actually made this comparison either on Reddit or Twitter or something like that. But basically, this is going to be like a rastered type of process where you have to print line by line, like you're basically moving across the surface plane where you're processing things, and you have to deposit something at each pass. And that takes a really long time. It's just like 3D printing. That takes a really long time. And the fastest you're going to go is going to be the total area you have to cover times how many in the case of 3D printing is how many times you have to cover that total area, divided by how fast you can actually do it. Or I don't know if that math is right, but basically it comes down to how fast you can physically move the head across and still maintain your accuracy of your process. Well, the thing is the same for like EUV processes. So they were talking about doing the same kind of thing for processing chips, where you basically, because the line widths are getting so small, they were talking about doing rasterized layers, right? So you basically take what is effectively, a UV or extreme UV, EUV, the 13 nanometer wavelength laser or light source, and you raster it back and forth, and you turn it on when you're trying to ablate away the photoresist, and you turn it off when you don't, and it's this really fancy photoresist that's super hard, and basically you're blasting away different parts of your solder mask, or not your solder mask, your photoresist, in order to expose the bottom layers and do your processing. Does this make sense still? I sound like I'm blabbering, but
well, it does. But why are we onto chip printing?
Well, no, this isn't chip printing. This is actually regular semiconductor manufacturing. So that's the thing. They were proposing this for a long time, and this is why it's taken so long to do this kind of stuff, because doing that rastering back and forth, you would have to do that on a wafer basis. Now compare that to a current photolithography process at a very high level.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
It's shining a big light effectively above a cutout, and then with a very fancy cutout, and then the light shines through some places and it doesn't shine through others, right?
And you expose it once.
It's effectively a batch process compared to this rasterized back and forth process. That is how manufacturing is always going to try and be. It's the same for like machining versus stamping, right? So if you're cutting out, you're cutting out a shape, you want to do it as a stamp because it's ka-chunk,
stamp, bang,
one
bang,
time,
bang, bang.
right? Instead of so that's always my rule of, if something's going to work for manufacturing, it has to be this kind of one-time batch process. That's going to be the best case scenario. It's not always going to be the case, because sometimes you have very specified inputs, but you have to raster something back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's just not going to be as efficient or as low cost.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So that's how I judge things for manufacturing.
Right. Got it.
And you see that all the time, right? People talk about 3D printing as a plastic process. It's like, you're never going to go faster than an injection mold. It's just not possible. No. It's ka-chunk, you heat up plastic, you shoot it through a mold, and it's done. And it's super cheap,
Exactly.
And it's awesome. I love watching injection molding stuff. Have you ever watched any of that stuff?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Man, with all the slides, and some days I think I should have been a mechanical engineer, but I never make
Right.
it.
Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a mechanical engineer or heck, even better, you're a civil engineer. You can build a skyscraper in the same time it takes us to build something, that's an inch square.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's I guess there are scale differences, but yeah.
It's embarrassing, isn't it?
Well,
You've been working on that for 12 months. Oh, yeah.
I'm not. No, I don't think it's that embarrassing because the thing is, if we were building the same structures as we were building in the 50s, right? If we were doing single transistor radios, we could build it in a similar time scale, right? I mean, like that's effective. Like bridges, I know that manufactured materials have gotten better for construction and everything else, but come on, really? They're still just bridges, right? I mean, they're very important that they hold up, and yes. But
yeah, but they're big and they're impressive.
They are big and very impressive, yes. And I will never design one because I'm not meticulous enough.
Why? Because it takes you an hour to do a 555 timer video.
Yep, that's why, Dave. That is exactly why. And that, folks, is why I'll never be a civil engineer.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
There was a homebrew computer club reunion.
There was.
And there was a Kickstarter, apparently, which I didn't know about.
Yeah, I didn't know about that either. I had heard rumbles about them doing it because I know it was at the Computer History Museum. But yeah, if you want to see pictures of a lot of gray hairs, gray beards rather, yeah, it's quite the group apparently. Seemed like, and I'm surprised they'd never gotten together before that, but I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
I thought they'd have a 10-year reunion or something every 10 years.
Yeah. Well,
they've all gone their separate ways. It's not like, and it didn't last a huge amount of time.
Right. It's iconic,
it's not like
but
this
it wasn't
thing went for
long running.
Yeah, it's iconic, but yeah, it's not like these guys were the best buddies for 20 years.
I'm sure some of them were, but maybe the group as a whole.
Yeah.
So we will actually be able to ask our guest about it next week. We'll be having Jerry on next week. Again. But talking DFM, like we talked about a couple weeks ago when she was supposed to be on, we'll be talking about the design for manufacturing side of things for the Cast AR, which got funded. Congrats to them.
Yes, it did.
And
$1 million.
And I was there. I helped them push it over to $1 million. Not really, but I was on a Skype call with them when they crossed the finish line. So basically, awesome. I did all the work. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
And get your CVs ready because they're going to be hiring too.
Yep.
Speaking of CVs,
how many people can you hire with $1 million?
Oh,
not many, probably.
5. That is the answer to that question. That's 5. Right. 5 people if you're not building stuff or if you're not manufacturing. That's 5 people for a year.
And then there goes all your profit.
Yeah,
it's
but like, Kickstarters aren't a profit.
By the time Yeah, because by the time so when you start getting and making a company and all, you get your Kickstarter money and you form a company and everything else. I don't think you end up with any profit left over. It's like, you end up with a company at the end of it, but that hopefully keeps going. But Well,
we'll ask you about it next week.
It's not like you made $500,000 profit.
No, definitely not. I'm guessing a significant portion of that's just for tooling, and but we'll ask you about that next week.
Yep.
Because awesome. That'll be a lot of interesting stuff. But yeah, speaking of CVs, there's been like this interesting. I don't know if it's the debate, but it's just a conversation kind of going back and forth on the web about GitHub as like the defining CV for like software people, right? So,
right, okay.
Basically, employers are now going to software people and they're saying, well, you need to have a public GitHub profile, you need to contribute to X number of projects and stuff like that. And
right. Is it so that they can see their code, see what their code's like, or is it just a wank thing, you can't be any good if you haven't contributed to GitHub?
Right. I think it's somewhere in between the two, but I think it's the latter of those, you can't be any good if you don't, that a lot of people are taking taking
like you can't be any
with.
good if you aren't on LinkedIn, right?
Right, exactly.
Oh, you aren't on LinkedIn? What? You don't know anyone. You're a fraud.
I know, right?
Bugger off.
What, you spend all your time networking at lunch, talking to people? You are a fraud. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And yeah, that's basically the argument that's going down is like, well, there's
Right.
twofold. Is one is that it's like, of course you can have other things, going on. You might have secret projects that you can't necessarily talk about
Yeah, of
unless
course.
you're, in a private meeting. You can't, you might be working on just private projects for personal reasons. Like there's so many options out there that I think the main thing is that people are, they're saying that if you make it a requirement, if you make anything like that a requirement, right? Like saying you need to have a PhD in order to get this job. It's like, well, you're excluding some people that are going to be perfect for that job either way. And personally, I say if people are making that requirement, that's a lazy hiring person, and you don't want to work for them anyways.
It is.
You should be trusting your hiring
think,
managers, really.
It's just stupid, right? You're potentially giving up on good employees. I would never make that a requirement to have, if you've got public stuff out there, cool, okay?
Yeah.
But I would not toss somebody's resume in the bin just because they didn't have that stuff on there.
Right.
For me, the final answer to that is get them in for an interview. If they sound okay, get them in, and then get them to show you stuff in private, right?
Yep.
If they can't make it public or whatever.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing.
That's fine.
There's all these, there's all these hiring groups out there that want to, turn money around, right? Where they had these huge hiring bonuses. They want to be able to search people online and then go and seek them out programmatically. And that's the thing. That's what it comes down to, is that it's a money thing. I think it's, you're trying to lower your cost for hiring. You're trying to,
right.
Hiring companies are trying to increase their turnover so they make more money. And you just can't standardize this stuff from my standpoint. You need to. You can definitely take it as a part of the whole, right? You can say, oh, you did this, and this, and then like you said, you bring people in and you actually talk to them. You make sure they're not full of crap, right? They're not they're just contributing in order to contribute. But it's just part of the whole. It's never the whole thing by itself. So
Yep.
But the other argument there is that people that are able to contribute to open source projects on GitHub and stuff like that are often more privileged, and you might be, excluding people because of that. Now, I don't know the demographics of that side of things, but it's an interesting point that, you think about who has, if you're trying to bring people up through the ranks, right? It's like it's going to be the top performers who are participating anyways because they're going to have more freedom in their jobs, and it's like you're just going to be cherry picking from the same talent. And so
Right.
I think that's the most valid argument there. But I think there also are some arguments about, women in programming, minorities in programming as well, that, we've talked about on the show before from a hardware perspective of trying to get people involved and stuff like that. So there is a exclusion side of the whole argument as well, but I don't know it well enough to say anything more than that.
All I can say is that's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would never
what
say
else
like
can you say? I
you
mean,
have you have to have an open source hardware project to work here. That would be ridiculous,
Exactly.
right? And
Exactly.
I would put the same.
It's crazy. It helps. Everything helps, but it's not going to. It shouldn't exclude you from the job. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it benefits the hiring people more than the hirees, right? Because it just they want to be able to exclude people faster, and that's where it's stupid. So
Yeah, totally agree. I linked in an absolute work of art.
Oh yeah, you did. This thing was beautiful. I was like, you're on LinkedIn. What? You're looking at art on LinkedIn?
This thing brings a tear to the eye, folks. We will link it in to the show notes, and trust us, you want to download and print this thing.
How did you? So first off, say what it is, but then how did you find it?
It is a chart. It is a chart of the electromagnetic spectrum, electromagnetic radiations, and it has examples of all different type of stuff that generates different spectrums and everything. And it's ancient. It comes from like the 1940s or something. And it's huge poster size thing. You can download it in like 10,000 pixel by 7,000 pixel size. And it's just gorgeous.
Awesome.
Right? And it's all hand-drawn,
Yeah.
colourful, and just got that old school 1940s look to it, so it's certainly not modern. All the examples are old, right? But it's just gorgeous. And Malcolm Fade, who I've had on the blog before, he found it somehow and he put me onto it. So
Wow. Yeah.
thank you very much, Mal, if he's listening. I don't take credit for the find, and it's just it's fantastic.
Yeah, it
So
is.
somebody scanned this in. Like,
Yeah,
this is like an
that's
original
really
poster.
nice scan. Yeah.
Well, I don't know
It
how
must
they
be
scanned
public
it. They
domain,
must have
though,
had
right? I mean, like,
it's from 1940s, right? There's no longer copyright on it, right?
I don't know those rules. How that I know.
Yeah, I don't know the rules
17
either.
years or something. No, that's patents, right? It's
all
like
I know is that the guy who drew it's probably dead. That's all I know.
E. Borzone. That's who drew it. Mm-hmm. We will honor him here.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Even though he's probably dead. Sorry.
Well, yeah,
But,
statistically.
You
right?
know. I think so.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because he would have been at least in his 20s when he
Yeah,
drew
right.
this,
Even if he
right?
was 10 when he drew
best.
this. Yeah.
At best, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just
I'm amazed.
gorgeous.
I'm amazed.
It really
Like,
is.
I think about how hard it was to kind of conceptualize RF type of stuff and really just spectrum type stuff in general
Mm-hmm.
from, really, like, as I've said before, the time when it really, really, really kicks in is when you get a DVB TV, right? One of those little USB dongles, and that's how you can, when you see like a spectrum changing over time, whatever, I forget what that's called, like histogram or whatever that is, where it's passing by the screen. That's when I really, 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 really got it, even though I had gotten it a little bit before. But, it's so hard to grasp. And then I think about doing that back in the 40s when, you didn't have, the best you had was someone drawing something like this or, just drawing it over and over on a chalkboard. And, it's like, it's amazing.
And I want to know why he did it, why he drew this, who he drew it for. Was it the company he worked for? Did they, give him the, task him to do this or what?
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean,
it's just incredible.
I'm sure that that was the case. I mean, this must have taken a really long time. I mean, even typesetting back then was tough, right? I mean, like thinking about drawing all this stuff, and this is all hand drawn. So
I'm surprised it has survived this intact. Somebody obviously had the original of it and has scanned it in using some sort of professional, flatbed scanner, because obviously this was like poster size, right? And you wouldn't be able to take just an image of it with your digital camera because the distortion effects of the lens would be too large, even if you had a,
you could stitch
huge,
together maybe, but
maybe, but no, there doesn't look to be any evidence of that. I think it's been professionally scanned by some big raster scanner, roll scanner system or something, and
just now it just finished loading for me. That's how big it was.
Right. Yeah, it's 144 meg or something.
Wow. Are you going to get it printed, do you think?
I was going to get it printed in a big poster, and laminated and put it up.
See, now you'll have to share when you get that done. See, that's the thing. Like, I don't know how to get like something this big printed. So if you find something good for that,
Google, dude. There's 10 million printing houses online printing houses. You just upload your file on their website and bang, it comes to you 2 days later and it costs you $50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I think here in Australia, I did some quick pricing of an A0 size poster. Is like, $70 or something.
Okay, that's not too bad. Actually, I just found on the upper right corner, it's the W.M. Welch Scientific Company. So
there you go. Right.
Edited by Arthur H. Compton. Wow.
Right.
That is insane. 1944.
Right.
Yeah. Nothing.
Is there any Google on him?
Oh, I don't know.
Does he have any Google foo? Can we type him in?
W.M. Welch. Oh, are they still around? That'd be even better.
Right.
No, they're not around anymore. Oh, Sergeant Welch. Is that? Oh, maybe they are. I see something here. They have a bunch of, like, they have a X-Tech on their site, so. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look into that more. But, Yeah, that is a sweet poster. I still want to get. That's the thing. So I was looking at posters because I actually never got any printed for that Weidlar poster that we have on our site. We never got that done at all. So I don't know about how to actually get that done. So I've never.
Dude, type in.
I will. I'm just saying.
A3 or A2 poster printing.
I don't know what that means.
Into Google.
I don't know what I don't do the A stuff.
What sizes do you bloody Yanks have? I mean, these are
I
international standard sizes.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, yeah, printing, but just type in poster printing.
Okay.
Into Google, and you'll find poster printing Cleveland, and you'll probably find 10 of them.
What is this Google
Cleveland
you speak of?
Oh, goodness sake.
Yeah.
You're a Luddite.
I kind of am sometimes. Analog, man. So I pay someone and they come to my house and they redraw this from site? Is that how it works?
Okay, yeah. That's how it works, yeah.
Yeah. So who did you say put this onto you? Or put you onto this, rather? Was it Marcus, you said?
Mal Fade, yeah.
Was he the one
Malcolm
with
Fade.
Ninja Blocks? Who do you know from Ninja Blocks?
No. Malcolm Fade is the Segway guy. He's made his own Segway.
Oh,
He's
right,
the
right,
one
right.
who does the electric cars. He builds his own electric cars.
Right,
He's the one who had the Sinclair C5.
That's right. Those crazy little shitty vehicles. Who was it that did the Ninja Blocks? That you knew someone that did that, right? That's an Australian thing.
Yes, that's Marcus.
Marcus, that's right. Yeah. So they're putting
Who's
on.
sold that? He sold.
Okay. I was wondering.
to his partner or something.
They have a new thing out. The group that does it.
Yeah, they've got a new Kickstarter-y thing, don't they? A new fancy looking.
It is fancy looking.
Whiz bang.
Yeah, it's like a little home. It's like a home networking thing for all Internet of Things devices.
Right.
Which wanky, right? But but the thing that's interesting about this is I expect this to be this is a Kickstarter project, that kind of thing. They're open sourcing everything, at least as far as I'm reading it. So they're open sourcing all the software, all the hardware, and I haven't seen that on any other type of Internet of Things, because it's kind of a land grab right now. You think about Wemo and all those others.
Yeah.
They all want to talk to each other. There's all these different RF standards. There's ANT, there's Bluetooth.
There's millions of them.
Yeah, there's all these different ways to talk, but there's no standardization, and so that's kind of exciting from having a home networking type of thing. You still need all the radios in there, but if you have some kind of open interface where people can write plugins and all that other kind of stuff, that's actually pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And it's also a beautiful mechanical design as well. I mean, so it's cool. Ninja Blocks could be very, very interesting. I never tried out the other thing, but I know it's all still built on.
No, I've never used it. Yeah,
BeagleBone.
they did a Kickstarter back then, and it was, and they 3D printed all their cases.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And they said, I think he commented once that that was a big mistake. They had to have a room full of 3D printers just running 24/7.
Injection molding, folks,
in their house.
It works.
Printing, oh boy.
Yeah, so that's a cool looking project too, and just open projects like that are really interesting. From seeing how I feel like there's a lot of fatigue, not a lot of fatigue because I don't know that closely, but there's just so many projects you can contribute to these days. I can't even imagine how software people.
They're endless, aren't they?
Yeah, it's well, and that's another point of that GitHub being a CV article is interesting too, because they're saying, if you're recruiting people based on how many projects they start, then it basically disincentivizes people from joining other projects. And
right, okay,
it is tough though. I can only imagine there's so many projects out there to contribute to that. I mean, and hardware people keep making new hardware, right? I mean, us a-holes, we keep doing it. So,
has anyone got any stats on how many new hardware crowd-funded projects there are every week? Is anyone keeping tabs on this? Anyone got any data?
I saw Zach from Upverter posted something about that today. They're really good. Him and Enzo have been posting a lot of infographics. They're really into the infographics, which are whatever.
Grown.
But there is some interesting information in there. They are collecting a lot of that information. It's usually in their blog. I don't know if we'll be able to find it by now, but yeah, they're posting about how many new projects there are and everything like that. So
okay,
and there are a significant amount. Basically, that is the gist of it all. I think they compared it from one year to the next, and I'm never going to be able to find this now. So I'll try and link it in though. They big poster size infographic.
Fuck, I hate infographics.
Yeah, they're kind of. Did you see that XKCD about
ago,
that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah. No.
What else we got this week? I think we are running out of time, but I think
more Kickstarter project.
Yeah,
half our list is filled with bloody Kickstarter projects.
Yeah, I put a lot on this week. There is a new, not necessarily chip of the week, but chip of the whatever. We always end up picking LT because they always end up putting out interesting parts. But
yeah, they do.
This is an interesting segment because I know TI has parts like this too with the wireless power transfer stuff. Like for
every man and his dog's doing that.
Oh, really?
Nowadays,
how many other?
Seems.
I haven't seen many others.
Seems like it.
But like basically, yeah, this is an up and coming market. I personally don't understand it, but I guess there's a reason to do this. I don't understand the efficient, with all the focus on green, I don't understand, is it that hard to plug in a cable? But then again, you could say the same thing when people are like, oh, well, is it so hard to plug your laptop into a LAN connection? Why are you using Wi-Fi?
Right.
So I'm sure that's just me being a fuddy-duddy. But there are a lot of new parts like this, and especially ones that are integrated, like this is. This is pretty simplified. The TI part was pretty simplified as well, and it's basically.
What's the part?
It's the LTC 4120, and there's a couple different modes, and they're trying to. In terms of land grab, they're all trying to say, "Hey, we're the standard." No, we're the standard.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing, but it's doing handshakes and trying to make chips talk to one another.
Oh, hang on, wank phrase of the week.
What?
Here we go. The first feature of this chip is dynamic harmonization control. Oh, who thought that one up?
Marketer.
Oh boy, that's just sad.
Yeah. Now the interesting thing
what the hell
about
does that mean?
Probably syncing up your harmonization. I don't know.
It's
probably
bullshit.
It's probably like trying to align your pulses on a resonant type of. I still don't know. It's basically an air core transformer, though. That's effectively what this is, right? And you lose, you lose some of the efficiency because of that, because it's
they're just inefficient.
Yeah,
all wireless power transfers are inefficient because they're not coupled together, as a regular transformer would be tightly coupled.
Exactly.
And you get that huge efficiency.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so basically what it comes down to is you're not going to be using this for a huge amount of power, but it's. I guess it's for convenience sake. I mean, there might be other interesting uses for it. I mean, you think about coupling, for isolation, you could do, if you didn't mind about the power as much, you could do really, really high voltage isolation because now you can move things apart without actually needing to have a physical transformer where you're doing, where you're transferring power over that. There's actually there's an analog devices part that does that. It's like it's like a digital isolator, and then the power is built into it. And there's more people doing that as well. Well, it's the same thing though. It's just two coils that are separated by a substrate. Usually, sometimes it's air, sometimes it's a silicon dioxide type of thing. But it's the same kind of thing. You're still coupling magnetic energy over some space. It's just a matter of what is the dielectric constant of. Not the dielectric constant. The what is the coupling between those two coils? What is it? It's not dielectric constant. There's whatever the core material transfer.
Oh, the permeability of the core material.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, basically how well you can transfer magnetic energy, and yeah.
Well, there's a lot of shit that goes into transformer design and getting the ultimate efficiency out of it. It's not just,
Yes, but
it's core saturation.
Right. But if
there's a lot.
Yeah, if you have a ferrite core, it's better than air, right? It's
Right.
yeah, some way of transfer. And basically, though, from if you're actually trying to isolate voltages, if you have stuff in between, it's not as good as if you have air in between. So it's kind of balancing those two. And so I guess that's another feature there. But I really think that all these are the wireless power stuff is because people are lazy. They want to throw their phone onto like a pad. And they want it to just...
a charging pad.
Yeah.
They haven't really taken off yet. I mean, my phone's got a wireless charger in it, apparently, my Google phone.
Oh, yeah.
But, people apparently, they've had them for quite some time, but people don't seem to, these things really haven't seemed to have taken off. I don't know why.
Well, yeah,
So-
I guess there's reasons to do it for, like, you can plug in more than one thing at once, but it's often like, what does it really do for me? Unless it's cheaper... like you think about how cheap a USB cable, USB micro cable is. It's like, okay, that's really cheap. Beat that.
Yeah, it's cheap.
And I have to buy an $80
and it's replaceable.
charge pad. Okay, well,
And yeah, exactly. And you can move it around. Even if you've got a charge pad, like you've got to walk to the specific location in your room where the charge pad is. Well, what's the difference between walking across the room, putting on a charge pad, or walking across the room and then plugging in the micro USB that's there?
yeah.
You're saving 1 second of your life. It's not a huge.
Yeah, once you get over
it's not a huge time
the
saver.
wow factor of it's charging over air. That is interesting. That is very cool. But yeah, past that, it's so maybe there are other applications.
Take my phone for example, right? Sometimes I want to charge it at my desk here. Other times I want to charge it on my bench. Other times I want to charge it in my car when I'm going somewhere. Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to buy three $80 charging pads?
Yeah, charging pads, and it's just.
Well, and that's the thing. And if it ever does get standardized, right? If one standard does win, and then people they sort of start getting commoditized. This is just the usual pathway of how this stuff goes. It'll get commoditized. They'll, a car manufacturer will start just integrating it into the armrest, and then now it's fine, right?
Right. Well, there are standards for this stuff.
Yeah,
there are standards for wireless
I don't know how to
power.
say it, like the Chi or Q.
Yeah,
it's QI
Chi or something. It's something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's I think there's two big ones. There's
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah,
And,
there's all these big. Oh yeah, working with the standards is Asus, HTC, Huawei, LG. Like all of the big companies are trying to work together. But then there's always someone else and whatever.
Exactly. Well, does this linear technology part? I don't see any mention of any standard.
No, it actually says it doesn't further down. So it doesn't do that standard. But
then what's the point?
Well, if you have sensors,
want some custom thing,
say you don't want to use the wait, it's going to tell me how to say it on the wiki page. Qi. Oh, geez, I wasn't even close. QI is pronounced Qi. I'm guessing that's from like Mandarin or something. Anywho's, you could, if you wanted to do like a sensor, maybe, but any kind of significant distance away, you're not going to be able to do that. Maybe if you wanted to try and transfer power through like a sealed box, right? So say you had like you wanted to have like a really watertight thing without a battery in it, or...
Well, Qi would still work, right? But I think there's more to it than the Qi. I did have a quick look at it once, and there's all sorts of, this backscatter, like a protocol type thing happening. So it's more complex, right? Whereas this thing's just dumbass. I think it just gets a signal from anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and then just, converts it and charges your battery. I think that's the goal of this one, is just to pick up energy from any sort of source.
Yeah, I guess LT does
I think
into
that's
that side. Well, maybe. But this is, if you're just trying to grab like ambient power, that's a totally different beast. Right? Like I see all these news stories about like why people, we're harvesting RF Wi-Fi signals. It's like, okay. My friends
I've
post
done a
this.
video on that. Let's not go there.
Yeah. It's new.
It's a joke. Anyway, it's another.
Well, I think it's
wireless
interesting
power
that it's a
receiver.
single chip, though. That's usually what interests me when they integrate all this stuff into small packages. That's always interesting to me. And
To me, this is just another energy harvester chip.
so you're saying it doesn't get chip of the week, Dave?
No, sorry.
All right. Well, what was your chip of the week? Was that you wanted to bring up yours now? Gotcha, bitch.
Bastard. The 555. That's my chip
Yeah,
of
that's
the
your
week.
chip of the week, huh?
Because my 555th video is coming up.
Oh, it
soon.
is. Yeah, you're gonna do anything
And
special?
people have been, I have to. People have been demanding it.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna I floated it out there, right? And I thought, I'm a lazy ass, right? I didn't want to. I suck at I'm coming up with ideas,
No.
right? Yeah, no, you wouldn't think so, right? And I suck at coming up with ideas, of something cool to do. Speaking of which, remind me to tell you about the Maker Faire after this,
Okay.
even though we're way over time. And yeah, right. So I floated it out there. I thought, just have a party at the lab, right? That'll be my 555th video. I'll just stream it live, and
Yeah.
people rock up. No one seems interested. So,
No? Oh.
all right. No.
The
So I've got
social side of things, huh?
Yeah, nah.
Yeah.
So
I forgot to mention last week we're having another meetup this week in Cleveland, but I think all of the listeners in Cleveland probably are already showing up too.
Right.
So there's not many people in Cleveland.
Right.
Well, yeah, yeah.
And so I'm going to have to come up with an idea for the video. So if you have any ideas of what I can do,
I'll come up with something.
and all right, like I was, going to do something big ass, I was going to do the world's biggest 555 timer project with 555 555 timers, but shit, I've only got like a week.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
it's not like I can spin
Alan
custom
already moved to
boards
the States, buddy. He's his what was that, 100 some 555 timers when he did his 555 contest.
Was it that many?
It was I think it was over 100, yeah.
Right, it was a significant number.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, are you going to tell me after the show, or are you going to tell me after, now?
No, well, I don't have any idea.
No, I mean the Maker Faire thing. The
Maker Faire. No, that just fell on its ass. I was going to.
Oh, it's coming up,
I had
isn't
a
it?
project in mind. Yeah, it's coming up this weekend. So yes, if you want to meet me, and you're in Sydney, of course, I'll be at the Maker Faire this weekend.
Oh,
This
that's fun.
Sunday,
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, you totally
Don't
flopped on
quote
that,
me
huh?
on that. Anyway, it's Saturday. Yeah, I totally flopped. I had this project in mind, and I started building it, but then I realised how much work was involved. And then, I thought, and then there was things just weren't working. It wasn't going as well as I thought, and because it's a complex mechanical build. It's like,
Yeah.
and I wanted it to look good. Like I just didn't want it to be half-assed, right? If I was going to do it, I was going to do it, properly.
Right.
And it just there was a shitload of work in it, and it just wasn't working out, and I ran out of time, and well, yeah, that's the end of that. So I've got no project to show at Maker Faire.
Well, I guess you'll have to be the science project, huh?
Yeah, well, no, I figure I don't want to spend all my time just showing off my project anyway. I'd rather spend my time shooting video of the place.
Yeah,
so
talking to people.
That's probably
better.
that's probably better of my time.
Well, it's whatever helps you
better
sleep
use
at
of my
night, man.
time.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Anyway, so I'm pretty disappointed that I didn't get that finished.
You can just save it for later. You can.
Yep, exactly.
It's always tomorrow.
Not the end of the world.
Yeah, until it is.
Right.
All right, man. Well, hey, have a good time at Maker Faire. I'll look forward to hearing about that.
Cool.
And
Will do.
if people haven't asked questions of Jerry on her various podcasts and everything else, we will be talking the actual implementation and her trip to China, her upcoming trip to China. So that'll be interesting talking about that kind of stuff. So we'll put up a post for asking for questions.
Awesome.
All right, man.
All right. See you next week.
Bye. Don't forget to subscribe.